As designers, we're constantly trying to solve for a world of change. 3 months later, 2 years later, things are different, and people are constantly looking for new and better ways of doing things. While I was growing up, my sister and I were in some ways kind of raised like the sons my father never had. One of the first things that I made was a doghouse. Look at that, it's got carpeting, everything a dog could ever want in his doghouse. We just kind of grew up being outside, and I think that had a big part in me becoming a designer eventually. Easy to use. But I never at the time knew, as a young child, that that was even a profession. So after I had graduated college, my roommate at the time saw the IDEO shopping cart video.
These are designers at IDEO. Probably the most.
They were looking at, the shopping cart experience today, and what they were asking was like, well, could it do more? And so they were identifying places where this could be improved.
Shopping cart has been clocked at 35 miles an hour traveling through a parking lot.
It was just like this aha moment of, wait a minute, there's people that, this is their job. They get paid to think about what's wrong with things and how could things be better.
A high-tech cart that gets you through the traffic jam at checkout.
And so at that point on, I, totally fixated on like, how do I do this? And then I was like, all right, I'm going to California and totally changing what I do. So if I was going to give advice to a peer who was stepping into a head of design role at a new organization, I'd probably tell them you'll do so much better if you first have earned the trust of those team members before you come and swing in and try to make change. I've been at Lyft for 2 years now, and in that time period, we've redone the Rider app twice. So our latest was updating our app so that it became a foundation for all of these different ride types. Public transit, bikes, and scooters. And so for us to achieve our goal, we need to make sure that you have all the options that you need.
I'll move this one over here.
Look at that phone at an angle.
Teams were launching things and kind of sticking them into the app. And what was happening is that our app kind of had grown out of itself.
So we've been trying to shoehorn stuff into the current panel, and like you've seen it in your app, like it's growing taller and taller, and like even on the smaller phones, it's like already almost past the top of the screen.
The design team identified this as an opportunity to zoom out, take a step back. What if we started from scratch? Could we do this better?
We need to change them entirely.
We had designers and researchers and engineers and product managers working on it together almost from day one. Let's let all ideas fly before we break it all down and say what's not going to work, because that's how we're going to get some really good ideas out.
You could make the pitch to like, well, just make different apps. Right. There could be 4 different apps.
Long term, we want our riders to be people who maybe didn't take Lyfts before, but just take public transit all the time. Right. We want those people to feel at home in the same app. Right. So we've tried so many things, so many different ways to bring that information back, but it's just hard with this little icon.
And so eventually we landed on one concept that we felt really good about. It didn't feel like it changed very much at all, but yet it was kind of a big paradigm shift. We introduced all these other forms of transportation at basically the same level of visibility as our core rideshare business.
So what we think we can do is actually use the paradigm that people are familiar with tabs at the bottom, to also increase engagement on those different sections by showing that this is like an important part of what we provide as a service.
So we introduced it in a form of an experiment. And what we saw is that it actually wasn't hindering our core business. People were utilizing multiple forms of transportation. In my role, I get to work with essentially all levels of the organization. And so I'm very fortunate that I was brought into an organization that felt the importance of design and working together. Our founders, they weren't designers, but from the get-go, they're thinking about, how are we going to improve people's lives? How are we going to make things better? There are many different ways to build a design organization, but you want to bring in a team of folks whose job it is to help the company make sure that it's always thinking about its long-term impact on people or the society and actually building something that's going to exceed their expectations. And that's what design is.